third grade. This is math for Wednesday the 13th. And I've got our handy dandy fraction pizzas out to help us practice and learn something new today. So first, let me just go through and show you once again this visual of equivalent fractions. So I have my pizza here with half green pepper and half mushroom. So we see 1/2, 1/2. But I also have here a half of a mushroom pizza cut into quarters. And I also have a half of a mixed pizza cut into 1/8. And as you can see, all of these different fractions represent the same area of space. And that is why they can be different numbers, but still be equivalent or equal fractions. Do you see that? Okay, I hope visually that will help you understand. All these different fractions are representing the same amount of the whole of this pizza. Okay, so that's just a little review on equivalent or equal fractions. Now I want to talk to you about comparing fractions, okay? So we know, let's review what we know. We know how to compare whole numbers. We've been doing this a long time, and we know that our less than or greater than sign always wants to open up towards the bigger number. So we know 3 is less than 6, we know 6 is greater than 3, and we know 3 is equal to 3. But what happens when we go to compare different fractions? Well, again, I think these pizzas really help us understand. So I have 3 pizzas here. One pizza is cut into halves. One pizza is cut into 6. And one pizza is cut into 2 different. This half is cut into 1/12. And this one is cut into 1/16. Okay? So visually, you can really see which fraction is a larger fraction, even though the number in the denominator might be larger. What it actually means is that your slice of pizza is smaller. So let's take a look at that. Let me move this. Okay? So the key when we are comparing fractions is to always look at the denominator. Always look at the denominator first, okay? So, for example, here is 1/2 of the pizza, okay? That is a big piece. If you were hungry and you got a half of a pizza, you'd be pretty happy, okay? But if you got a piece 1/16 of this pizza, you're not going to be satisfied by that. You're going to want more. So even though 16 is a much bigger number than 2, in this case, the fraction is smaller. So let's take a look. I'm going to take this out, this 1/16, and I'm going to compare it to 1/2. Okay, it's a little teeny sliver next to this 1/2 piece of pizza. So if we were comparing these two fractions, clearly 1/16 is way smaller than 1/2, even though 2 is less than 16. So it's a little tricky, but as long as you remember to look at that denominator, okay, that's the key to comparing fractions, all right? So if we look at 1/2 and we want to compare it to 1/6, what do you think is going to be larger? So I have my 1/2 and I have a 1/6. What is larger? Well, clearly we can see that the 1/2 is larger than 1/6, right? If you got 1/2 of this mushroom pizza, you'd be stuffed. If you got 1/6, you'd be like, that was okay, but I can maybe eat another slice. So we can add here that 1/2 is larger than 1/6. Now, at first, when we think of whole numbers, that might be counterintuitive because look, we know 2 is less than 6, but that's not what we're doing. We are not comparing whole numbers. We are comparing fractions. And with the fraction, the denominator, if it's larger, means it's cut up into smaller pieces. So 1/2 is larger than 1/6. And again, we see that here. 1/2 is larger than 1/6. Okay? Now let's look at 1/12 versus 1/16. So I need to put my 1/16 back. Okay, great. So now we have a pizza with one side broken into 1/12 and 1/2 is broken into 1/16. And if you look closely, which slices look larger? Which ones would you want to eat? Well, the 1/12 are larger than the 1/16, and you can see that when I do this up close. Okay, so looking at our comparison of fractions, we're going to say that the 1/12 is larger than the 1/16, even though 12 in a whole number is less than 16. We're not comparing whole numbers, we're comparing fractions. And we know in a fraction, the bigger the denominator is, the more pieces it's broken up into. Okay, so just one more time, let's take a look over here. And we can see that there are more slices, it's cut up more times in the 1/16 than it is in the 1/12. So therefore, 1/12 is bigger than 1/16. Okay? So we're going to practice this a little bit more today, and you're going to compare some on your own. And if you need to watch this video again, go ahead. It'll help you, all right? All right, great. We'll work on this some more, and good luck with the rest of your math today.